Hey everybody, it's Phil Tangora, aka One Beast Mode. I want to break down a few key charts that could show us where the markets are likely heading, along with a few key levels that could give us some trading opportunities right now. So let's get into it. If you take a look here at the QQQ monthly chart, this is the NASDAQ, essentially the tech sector of the stock market. And if you take a look at this very simple chart, essentially what you have here is two upsloping trend lines, one on the lower region, one on the upper. Essentially, this is kind of the parallel channel that we have been trading in on the NASDAQ essentially since inception on this QQQ chart. So you have a pivot here that resulted in a big sell-off, a pivot here that resulted in a big sell-off, and then a pivot here that actually resulted in a big sell-off. Now, the technical secret I have is whenever you hit a trend line on the third time, a lot of times you can pierce it, mean go above it or below it essentially, and then you get a reversal the other way. And essentially that's kind of what you have here. You did get that third hit pierce, and now rolling back over. If I switch over to the daily, we did fill a key gap here, which is support. You were also pretty oversold here with all these red candles in a row. So this is a support zone and not a big shocker to see us catch a bounce. So from here, I really want to watch how high this bounce goes, and then if we roll back over. So right now, this could still be holding its uptrend, could still be bullish consolidation. But if you take a look at this bigger time frame chart, you are very vulnerable to come all the way back down here to this lower trend line, which hasn't been tagged in quite some time, essentially since March of 2020. So I am really watching to see if we do get that bigger sell, and if we do, that would definitely be detrimental to risk assets. I think you'd see a lot of risk off environment and essentially a lot of selling across the board in many names, even into crypto. So that's something I am paying attention to. You also have a little bit of negative divergence starting to form. So the chart made a high, then a higher high, but this MACD is actually showing a high, then a lower high. And if that does play out, you could get a big sell to the downside, which would affect a lot of markets. So we really want to pay attention to see the pattern here on the Qs to see do we hold up or do we really start to roll over. Bitcoin, I want to pay attention to this as well. Let's take a look at this hourly chart. Bitcoin definitely holding up here, but essentially what you have here is a high pivot put in, almost a double top, a rollover into support. So you had your double bottom support here. You caught a nice bounce, but essentially this bounce has been about a 50% retrace bounce, and now you're starting to roll over. So what we want to watch here on Bitcoin is, can you kind of go sideways here and go re-attack highs? If you can, then you have a shot of actually tagging 85K. Let me show you that quickly. If you can actually break out here, you have a chance to go tag 85K. But if you actually start to roll back over here, re-attack 60,000, I think you will be vulnerable to come into around 49,000 or so. So that's going to be very important here for crypto. And if that was to happen, Bitcoin rolls back over, the NASDAQ rolls back over, I think that would be detrimental, and you could actually see some key levels be broken and some bigger sell-offs take place. So it's going to be really important. So far, overall, we have had a nice little correction on both stocks and crypto. We did hit a lot of support zones, double bottom here on the Bitcoin chart, QQQ essentially into that gap fill, and we are starting to catch a bounce. But from here, we want to watch how strong are these bounces. Can we rally back to highs and break out, or is this just a dead cat bounce and we roll back over and start to really sell back to the downside? So that's all I really wanted to show you guys. I'm going to show you guys a quick trading level here on this Tesla chart. Very interesting. Take a look at this weekly chart on Tesla. You have this upsloping trend line, 1, 2, third hit. If you are aggressive, I think you could actually do a starter position on the long side on Tesla and look for a bounce back up. You've essentially had over a 50% correction from the high pivot down to here, so you're definitely way oversold into an upsloping zone of support, and you also have so many sell days essentially in a row with that gap down that occurred yesterday. So if you are aggressive, I think you could actually try this Tesla chart for a long, and you can see a lot of these markets have hit some support. So if you do get a nice rally back up, this one should yield a nice little bounce, at least back to this gap fill around 160. But I would caution definitely being careful, because if these markets do start to flush, obviously this would get a bigger sell to the downside. So personally, I think I'm going to wait. But if you are more aggressive, you can definitely do a starter position, as technically there's many factors showing this should catch a bounce in this zone. So thank you guys for watching. Have a wonderful day.